Well, welcome everybody again. For those folks that were just with us, we were blessed by Dr. William Sears, and now we have the opportunity to hear from an amazing expert. Dee and I were just like, our mouths were on the floor listening to Dr. Connealy. You are going to be so blessed by this time. And again, we'd encourage you, if you're new, you weren't in the previous session, we want to encourage you, get a piece of paper, a pen. We want you to be active on chat. After our conversation, we really want to hear from you on Facebook and let us know what you're taking away from it and maybe what you're going to apply to your own life. So welcome, everybody. We're super happy to have you with us today.
Very happy. Sean and I and the RISE team have been working on this summit for months. We're so blessed by the numerous experts that will be gracing us every day. And this talk in particular is very meaningful to me because I have one of my dearest family members that has a return of cancer. Just the last 3 or 4 years, the cancer came on in 2014. There was surgery and radiation, and the cancer has resurfaced just this past spring. And one of my dearest friends has a stage 4 brain cancer. And I bet if we were to take a round of hands on this call, that you would have either experienced a bout of cancer in your life, have a dear friend, a family member, an acquaintance, somebody that you know. This information from Dr. Leigh Erin Connealy, again, I took so many notes throughout our session together. It's life-changing and transformative, the way we can look at it and approach it with a very unique lens that she offers. So with that, have a great time with this interview, and we will be chatting throughout the entire one.
Yes. So guys, we'll cue this up, and please let us know in chat any thoughts throughout the presentations. So here we go, guys.
Welcome, everyone. We're so thrilled to be able to bring you Dr. Bill Sears today. We have been a fan.
Sorry about that, guys. That was my bad. Hang on one second, Dee. I got to find Dr. Connealy's setup.
No problem. We expect a technical error or two. I'm only seeing a white screen, Sean.
Yep. Hang on one second, Dee. I've got to pull it down. Hang on. There it is. Okay.
Perfect.
So it's saying Dr. Connealy. Hang on. Talk amongst yourselves, guys.
Well, Dr. Connealy is local. You'll hear that in just a moment. She's here in Irvine, California, and has 2 centers, the Center for Healing and the Cancer Center for Healing. Yes, yes, and yes. She was really quite amazing to be able to add a list of tools for prevention that I thought were really applicable to integrate into our each and every day.
Okay, Dee, let's try it again. Here we go.
Welcome, everyone. I'm like beyond thrilled to have Dr. Leigh Erin Connealy with us today. I have had the privilege myself of living in the area of her clinics and have benefited from them over the past decades. And to see the growth and the continued expertise in the area of cancer has been amazing. So I want to say once again, like, hold on to your seats. We have a really action-packed hour for you.
Welcome, Dr. Connealy. We're so happy to have you.
Well, it's an honor to be here.
Yeah. Well, I'd like to share a little bit more about you, Dr. Connealy. And I didn't realize that you're so close to us. You're in Irvine, California. But Dr. Connealy is the medical director of the Cancer Center for Healing and the Center for New Medicine in Irvine, California. Woohoo! Glad you're so close to us. Dr. Connealy's multidisciplinary treatment protocols, a team of healthcare professionals, and taking the best of all science approach to health and healing have made the centers the largest, most technologically advanced integrated functional medicine clinics in North America. Visited by more than, this is amazing, doctor, 67,000 patients from all over the world. She's also the author of The Cancer Revolution and Be Perfectly Healthy, and a sought after speaker on numerous TV and radio shows, webinars, and podcasts. And Dr. Connealy has been named one of the top functional integrative doctors in the United States. And it's such a pleasure to have you here with us today. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, it's great to be here, and I'm glad to share the message with you.
Yeah, well, we're really excited to dive right in. And so in this whole area of cancer and cancer prevention, we really want to know, like, how do we get early detection, and what things would you recommend for all of us watching of beginning stages, whether we are looking for early detection or whether we're in the middle of treatment? What can you suggest for beginning a path to healing?
Right. Well, let's talk about the incidence of cancer. So the incident cancer is about 1 in 2 men and about 41% of females. And so it's the largest killer in people 1 to 85 years old and the largest killer of children. So it used to be accidents in children, now it's cancer. So we really do have a serious problem, and we have the cure for cancer, and it's prevention, just like it is for every other disease. Whether we have, number 1 killer is heart disease, and number 2 killer is cancer, and third is the medical system, the medical paradigm itself, and that was published by Johns Hopkins in 2017. So when we see a patient, we ought to think, okay, what are the top 3 killers, and address every patient like that, and then do all the proper evaluation and testing. And, you know, science has changed over the years, and I've been doing this 35 years. And so what we did 35 years ago is not what we do today. And it's not at least what you should be doing today. Just like the cell phone, since it first came out, it has gone through lots of transformation to the little thing that it does and all the million features. Well, medicine, believe it or not, has advanced the same way, but doctors and practitioners need to be studying the continued scientific evolution. In fact, there's over 1 million published articles in PubMed every year, 1 million. So you can't have a team big enough to constantly do the research and decipher all the latest, greatest information. So, but we all need to, we really need to address the health of the United States. 60% of people are suffering from a chronic illness, and we should be focusing on prevention, proactive, personalized, precise medicine. Now, when it comes to cancer, the first thing you want to do is do a comprehensive blood test. And the comprehensive blood test is not just a chemistry and a CBC, and that looks if you're anemic or if you have abnormal kidney function, liver function. We want to look at other markers like C-reactive protein. C-reactive protein is a non-specific marker for inflammation. It doesn't tell me where the inflammation is, but we know that inflammation is the red light on your dashboard that's telling us that something is inflamed. Again, it doesn't tell me where it is. We've got to go look and see. So one of the things that brings C-reactive protein down is omegas and curcumin. So we would try a little bit of that. And if that doesn't go down in 6 to 8 weeks, then I turn into a detective to figure out what is going on. Now, the other blood test that I am rigorous about is the hemoglobin A1C. So the hemoglobin A1C is a reflection of your sugar over 90 days. And about 80% of the population is pre-diabetic or diabetic. So it should be checked on everyone because, believe it or not, that number is an indication of aging. Not only is it an indication of aging, it's an indication of overall blood sugar control. And since blood sugar is damaging, elevated levels, even slight levels, are damaging to your immune system, damaging to the mitochondria. They paralyze the cell, not allowing it to take care of you. So I am a fanatic about that hemoglobin A1C and have been for years. Now, the other thing that is also important is the hormone called DHEA sulfate. DHEA sulfate is the main hormone made by your adrenal glands. Your adrenal glands are little glands that sit on top of your kidneys, and they make about 100 hormones. And DHEA is the single most prominent hormone. It's the single most repairing hormone in your body. So we want to make sure that those are optimal levels. Now, there are other things to look at, like I look at thyroid, I look at liver function, we can look at tumor markers, we can look at a blood test called nagalase. Nagalase is an enzyme that's normally in your body, and if it's elevated, it's preventing the macrophages from attacking cancer and or viruses. So that's another marker. Another marker is called PHI. PHI is the enzyme of hypoxia. Hypoxia is low oxygen. Otto Warburg in the 30s won a Nobel Prize that cancer is a low oxygen, sugary, acidic environment. So we want to make sure that the patients don't have low oxygen. So that enzyme tells us that there is either an environment for cancer, or if a patient's already been diagnosed with cancer, we know that they have an existence of low oxygen. So we will give them the proper treatments and or remedies to help them with that. The other test that I like to do on top of that is a blood test called the RGCC. The RGCC is in a lab in Greece. They've been around for over 17 years. They're already in 18 or more countries. They have the most sophisticated oncological testing anywhere in the world. And I have used testing here. I've used testing. I've looked at testing in Austria. I've looked at testing in Germany. But this test has the most comprehensive view. And so I will look for a circulating tumor cell test. Now that blood test tells me if there's circulating tumor cells. Actually, cancer starts with one abnormal cell. People don't realize that. It's not like you wake up and have cancer. It actually starts with one abnormal cell in the right conditions, the perfect storm that creates this scenario for cancer. And then it starts duplicating over and over to become an immortal cell. And when it gets to a size of about 1 to 2 millimeters, which is really 2 pencil lines, it starts releasing circulating tumor cells. Circulating meaning it's going around the blood, because we actually will draw your blood, send it overnight to Greece, and it will determine the circulating tumor cells if they're there. So let's take for a moment, let's pretend you don't have any diagnosis. So that'd be something I'd want to do as a screening if you just wanted to make sure you didn't have cancer, just like I would want to do a heart scan to look for calcifications to make sure you don't have heart disease. An EKG doesn't tell me that, but a heart scan tells me you have calcifications, which hardening of the arteries, preventing good blood flow, which is low oxygen, which is what causes a heart attack. So that's a scan you can do. It's a very quick 5-minute test that you can determine. And I've been doing that for 25, 30 years. So, because like I said, the top 2 diseases, heart disease and cancer. So we want to, obviously, make sure patients don't have those top 2 diseases. So going back to cancer, the circulating tumor cell test. So we do that, and that will tell me, oh, do you have circulating tumor cells? And then what it's maybe associated with. Is it associated with kidney cancer, melanoma, prostate, breast, etc.? So that test. Then the other test that I've been doing for years, about 23 years, is something called the acupuncture meridian assessment. You have acupuncture points on your fingers and toes that correspond to every organ in your body. And this was discovered by a famous doctor, Reinhold Voll, V-O-L-L, and he taught in the 40s electroacupuncture, according to Voll. And he knew that you had energy flowing through these acupuncture points, which has now been proven by MRI that acupuncture does work. So you take a stylus and you actually measure the energy flowing or not flowing in the acupuncture points. And we will determine if there's interference fields in those acupuncture points. Then we got to figure out what is interfering with that acupuncture point and the flow of energy, because let's face it, life is about energy. Like if you have a EEG and there's no brain waves, we know that the patient is dead. If we do an EKG, we do a heart rhythm, we know that if the patient does not have electrical rhythm, we know that they're dead, right? So this is actually looking at all the acupuncture meridians. I tell people it's like a wire from a point to an organ or gland or limb, etc. And so this will tell me things that I can't pick up in a blood test, because I tell people when we draw your blood, it's capturing a minute of time, right? So what's going on the other 23 hours, 59 minutes? Then if you do a scan, like a CT scan, a PET scan, an MRI, those kind of scans, ultrasounds, those tells me big things, lumps and bumps. But I want to look at the invisible part of the body that doesn't show up on the those blood tests and or scans. So in a very quick, way, we can determine really early if someone is brewing, simmering, fermenting cancer. Now, if you've already been diagnosed with cancer, the reason why those circulating tumor cells are so important, because that's responsible for 95% of metastasis. So let's take an example, a woman who has had a lumpectomy. So first of all, from one cancer cell to tumors, 10 years. So if you do a lumpectomy, which takes an hour, we can't think that that's going to change the environment and the terrain of the cancer. So now we have to understand the why, where, when, and how these diseases started to begin with, so that we can optimize the patient so the patient never gets cancer again. So when I see a patient who's had a diagnosis and maybe had a surgery, then I will tell you, let's understand why the perfect storm developed. Why do you have the cancer? And then more importantly, look at the circulating tumor cells, because that's what's responsible for 95% of metastasis, the cancer coming back to a new home, place, nest, or residence in the body. So all this can be detected and fixed and determined. And so unfortunately, we're focusing on surgery, chemo, and radiation, which may be necessary in patients, but we also have to change the environment and the terrain that cancer came in, or it comes back. Just like if patients have diabetes. If you've been diagnosed with diabetes, we don't say, take this medicine and eat whatever you want, because we know that that is not what's going to work. You must change the information that's going inside of your body so that you can bring the blood sugar down properly. You may need medications, but the medications are just for those tightening and optimization. Hopefully, if you're on insulin or medication, we can usually get patients off medications by just really dialing in on what they're eating, how they're moving, detoxing them, changing their entire lifestyle. Most of us, unfortunately, need a lifestyle renovation. I hate to say, I always tell people blueberries and broccoli are not advertised on television. Okay.
Exactly.
Unfortunately, so we've got to learn what is good for all of us. We have to learn we need to learn the rules and laws of our human mind and body and soul, because that is the answer. And in medicine, we sign up for the Hippocratic Oath, primum non nocere, first do no harm. And so when we give a patient a medication, we should be telling the patients informed consent, like, here is what can happen if you take this medicine, if you take this procedure, if you do this biopsy. We should be talking openly so that we can help the patient have the highest, greatest success.
Super helpful.
Yeah. So Dr. Connealy, wow. I mean, there's so much there to unpack, right? But what I'm taking away from that is, from a preventive standpoint, there are a number of assessments and blood tests that we should really be focusing on. And we'll make sure and list those for everybody, because that was really powerful. I'm curious, can we go back to talk about the mental side of cancer? Like what can we do to help ourselves, specifically from stress and everything else that is related from the mental side of cancer? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Right. Well, I think that's been the greatest evolution and information that's come out in peer-reviewed journals, is that stress and unresolved emotional conflict. Now, believe me, believe it or not, I've been talking about this for a long time, but I personally did not learn it till I was about 45 years of age. I started to, read and study and do things myself personally, because I always tell people, I can't fix you until I fix myself. And I can't implement and execute with you unless I model the behavior that I want with my patients. And I can't properly teach you if I don't do that. So I started researching at 45 years of age, and then I've just learned along the way. But the studies in the science today show that trauma, unresolved emotional conflict, stress is probably the biggest factor in illnesses today, okay? And so I believe that every person that I see, the first and foremost thing is teaching them how to eat and emotional attunement. And so we all have something. Nobody comes into this world without some trauma and drama and stress. I mean, it's just part of life. But we haven't been a society to teach our young ones how to handle stress, much less ourselves, right? So it's something as a mother, my kids are grown now, but I look back, I reflect now, and I go, what could I have done differently as a mother? And I would have said, probably laying on the ground and meditating with my kids and listening to meditative music. That's one thing I probably didn't do that I would like to have done. So, but now, it's something that we talk about as a family, because our spiritual, mental, emotional, spirit and everything needs to be good, because I always tell people stress starts in the head and ends in the body. And so we've got to address it. So we have special treatments that we do here that work very fast, very efficaciously to help patients manage stress. But just let's take, for example, when you're diagnosed with something, we already know there's drama and trauma with just a diagnosis, okay? And so we've got to help the patient slowly, calmly understand their diagnosis and have a good plan. We just can't do drive-through treatments. Oh, here we go. Let's just do this quick biopsy. Let's do this quick surgery, etc. We've got to really help the patient navigate slowly and methodically a good treatment protocol that is going to maintain their health all the way through. If the cure is worse than the disease, we're not doing a good job, right? We want to keep we want to maintain the patient's health at the optimal level while they're undergoing treatment. And I so often, I had my last patient on Friday. She came in from Michigan, and she had 3 family members die. And the reason she said, I came to see you, Dr. Connealy, is I know the system. I have lived it. I know my mother, all these 3 very important people in her life went through cancer and died very quickly, okay, within less than 3 months of their diagnosis. And she goes, the treatment was worse than the disease. And I know this, I've read this, I don't want to do this. So anyway, we really focus on the patient and the process of the patient, that they get hand holding, they get the emotional recommendations and the treatments, and they get the eating recommendations, the purification recommendations, management of their blood work, their lifestyle, sleep. Like so many people don't sleep, 50% of the patients. Well, that's when your bone marrow starts working and helping your immune system. So we have to sleep. We have to make sure that the patient is getting good sleep, and hopefully without sleeping pills, because when you sleep with sleeping pills, that's not true sleep. So it's very, very important that we are mindful of the entire process.
Yeah. So it's that body, mind, spirit approach. It's that whole person approach, isn't it?
That is correct. We must address everyone's medical issues or lack thereof. Let's say a patient just comes in for human optimization. Well, we want to make sure that we're dealing with the whole person, because we are a whole person. You know, there's that old story of the blind man and the elephant. And the blind man, you know, one person touches the foot, one person the trunk, and one person, you know, the snout, and you know, they all have a different, you know, uptake. But when our eyes are open and illuminated, we see the entire gargantuan aspect of an elephant. And so this miracle that we all get to enjoy every day, and it is a miracle, we need to respect and honor that in its most, you know, esteemed way. That's just my, you know, now that I've lived life, you know, when I was young, I didn't know all this. And when I was a young mother, I didn't know all these things. And then now that I'm older and I've lived life and seen patients for 35 years, I'm just in awe of the human body and what the miracle that we have. And this is what I teach my patients is we've got to honor and respect. I was talking to my stepdaughter yesterday because she's pregnant. And we were talking, you know, she had done some research on how the placenta was formed. And, you know, like you're sick when the placenta is formed and you don't feel good, but it's, you know, God's way of saying, no, you need to be resting, relaxing, because that first trimester, it's a very formative time. But we were talking about how incredible the machining, the miracle, and actually the mystery of the body is. And so we all need to really study it, learn about it, and know how it really works.
I love the whole body of groups that you have, that you look so personally at each of the patients that come to you. And I feel like you've said so much. I feel like I have taken massive notes as we're speaking. I think in that first section with all of the tests, it made me feel like for all of us, that early detection is possible. And there's different ways to get it versus waiting for the lump to appear or looking at a scan that's showing something way down the road, that we can come in early for early detection. The same as for a heart attack, looking at that 5-minute CT scan, that there are some great tests. So thank you for that, knowing that people watching are going to be in one of two camps, either wanting to be in the area of like, hey, I want to know early detection, or that you gave a wealth of tests if we're in the middle of a cancer diagnosis, that there can be ways to better treat and more effectively rebuild the immune system to fight the cancer with those types of screening. So appreciate all of that. And then throwing in the mental health component and stress. I think there's the renowned book, The Body Keeps the Score. That was so helpful, that it's like, okay, like when we have issues with migraines or gut issues or the chronic backaches, you know, it starts with a stressor and then it ends up, you know, having a home in us. So I think the priority of having stress reduction techniques as a mainstay of our everyday experience, knowing that stress is going to come, it's just a matter of which moment is it going to hit today, and that we have some techniques in our back pocket with meditation, with prayer, with grabbing some deep breaths, with having that as an integral part of our lifestyle is like super important. So I appreciate that you have that, even in the area of cancer, that can be a huge puzzle piece. You all go ahead.
Yeah, well, there's interesting because years ago I was in Denver, and I didn't know about this before, but I was in Denver probably, I don't know, 17, 18 years ago. And these two doctors from Las Vegas were talking about this famous German doctor, Dr. Hammer, Hammer. And he wrote the 5 biological laws of medicine. And so these doctors were talking about how this doctor, he was diagnosed, he was an oncologist in Germany, all right? And in his 50s, he was diagnosed with testicular cancer. That's very unusual because most of the time it's young people in their 20s, early 30s get diagnosed with testicular cancer. So he had to step back and reflect like, whoa, why do I have this cancer? So anyway, he started asking all of his patients, so why do you think you have cancer? Why do you think? Why do you think? And they all could relate it to a trauma or a shock to their body. So he started analyzing all kinds of aspects, and especially CT scans, and he found that there was like an area in the brain on a CT scan that there were a shock to the system. And anyway, so he got in major trouble because he started talking patients out of their cancer. His story is online and everybody can see it. But anyway, and so I looked at that and I went, oh my gosh, this is just unbelievable, you know? And he had a phenomenal success rate in really talking patients out of their cancer because of the trauma and stress of a cancer diagnosis. Well, in his case, his son had been tragically killed several years before. And so that was something that he hadn't processed. And so anyway, anyone can go look it up, but look up the biological laws of medicine. So now, since then, so many people have done research on emotions, trauma, and cancer. I mean, it's the hottest topic now today, is how trauma affects, and they say from in utero to 7 years of age. Well, people don't know what happened in utero at 1, 2, 3, 4 years old. That something happened, and it, you know, for every one of us receives things differently. So, you know, you can have 6 kids in the same household from the same mom and dad. They're going to experience the trauma and drama differently, okay? And so people say, well, so-and-so, Johnny's okay, but Mary's not okay. Well, everybody's different. We're all, I always say, every individual is an original. And so don't try to categorize every single person in this, you know, same way. But it is very important for all of us to you know, address ourselves, because we all have something. We don't come into this world without some kind of drama and trauma. We just don't. Or if you matriculate, let's say you had to leave it to Beaver life, which I don't really met anybody that's had that. but I mean, I know, because I've talked to people for years and years and years and years, and you know, I don't know anybody that comes out perfect. I'll never forget, I had this patient, she was in her 70s, diagnosed with colon cancer. And so I said to her, you know, like, so, you know, what has been your stress in your life? And she goes, you know, I really, you know, I can't think of anything. I've had a really, you know, wonderful life. So anyway, I said, well, you think about it. And then she comes back next visit and she goes, you know, Dr. Connealy, I was thinking about your question. And she goes, I found out that I was adopted 10 years ago. Well, you find out you're adopted when you're 62, and you know, that's a big, big deal, right? So, because that's something we all need to know, but you know, adopted babies, they may experience abandonment because someone gave them away, right? Might have been the right reasons, right situations, but still, you know, they were abandoned at birth. So anyway, so we've worked that. She's doing phenomenal today and great, but at 72, here she is learning something more about herself.
Interesting. I love it that it's an integral part of the way you treat patients, that you treat, you know, every single aspect. And just to know that this aspect is an important one for prevention and for dealing with any disease.
Any disease, that is correct.
Okay, we've talked about so many great things for diagnostics and mental health. Should we dive into the whole topic of food and the priority and kind of your thoughts around that? I know it's a huge part in healing.
Right. Well, food is the single what you pick every day is the single greatest determinant of health. All right. So, but there's so much science about food. And then because there's so much science, there's a lot of confusion. Okay. But our medical profession today doesn't address eating at all, okay? The doctor just does not have time, okay? And when you go to a cancer doctor today and you ask them, does what you eat matter? He or she will say, oh, no, it doesn't matter. I just don't want you to lose weight. So we know though, that what you eat has mattered for a very, very long time. It's not something new. It's something that's been studied and researched, and because I have followed many, many people over the years. And fortunately, when I grew up, my mother used to follow Adele Davis, and she wrote many books about health and eating. And then there's this dentist called Weston Price, who traveled the world and studied the dentition of populations and found that what you eat was the single most important thing about your teeth. And we now know that teeth are a very important part of heart disease and cancer and other chronic illnesses. So there's a great book written by Dr. Levy, who's a cardiologist and attorney, and he writes on the teeth now. That's his whole big thing now. His first thing was vitamin C. Now his big thing is the teeth. And he wrote about hidden infections. So hidden infections are chronic drain to the immune system. So that would be root canals, periodontal disease, any kind of mouth infection. And so, we don't think as physicians, about the mouth. And but these are things that now in the last several years are being discovered and being studied and being published. With this information. So it's very important that every doctor not only address what they eat, but the mouth. But anyway, so eating is a big thing. So there was a doctor who wrote a book called Cancer, a Metabolic Disease, Dr. Seafried. And it's a great book. It's not a book for it'd probably be good for a science person because it has lots and lots of biochemistry. It's not an easy read at all. But I recommend people go watch his YouTubes. So the first experiment he did is he took mice with cancer and then he put them on a fast. And he noticed the tumors, rapidly decreased. So then he started studying the ketogenic eating plan and determined that, everybody got better and lots of people got better and the animals got better, et cetera. So now that's probably one of the most researched topics today. Ketogenic actually came out and used for epilepsy. That was the first thing. Well, now ketogenic is used for cancer, diabetes, and cognitive impairment diseases, dementia, and Alzheimer's. So is it the only diet? Absolutely no. And I tell every patient this. And I will tell the people the cardinal rules of eating is get off sugar. Sugar weakens your system. There's many, many reasons not to eat sugar, okay? And if you do eat sugar, do it very, very limitedly. And then always go walk if you eat sugar, because the studies show if you go walk, you bring your blood sugar down. The second thing is we have lots of carbohydrates. When I say carbohydrates, bread, rice, pasta, potatoes, all those kinds of things have lots of sugar. So we just need to be studying the labels of everything. Every patient comes back and tells me, oh my goodness, Dr. Connealy, everything has sugar, everything, okay? You read a yogurt jar, anything you start reading, and you start seeing the sugar and then the hidden sugar. There's a lot of hidden sugar, like with fructose. So anything with the fructose, glucose, all that is sugar. So you got to now start being a food scientist. But you got to stick to nature, fat is your friend, but you got to make sure you're doing the good fats, the natural fats. Protein, you need a little bit of protein, but you need to really cut down on your sugar. And now if you're vegetarian, patients can still do the same thing with protein powders. So now if I have different kind of patients, like if you have leukemia, I want the patient to eat more meat. I don't put them on a vegetarian diet or anything like that. There are some vegetarian people out there that promote only vegetarianism. But I believe that balance is the key, okay? Some fat, some carbohydrates, and low glycemic carbohydrates is the way to eat. Years and years ago, I read the book called Enter the Zone. And one of my doctor friends called me up, oh, let's go listen to this lecture. This was over 25 years ago. And I listened to Barry Sears, and he wrote this book, and it became, and it made so much sense. It keeps the insulin down. So what is cancer? Cancer has many times more receptor sites for sugar than a normal cell. A normal cell only has 4, and a cancer cell has about 64. And what is a PET scan? A PET scan is radioactive sugar injected into you, and it lights up the cancer. So we know that this is a very, very integral part of the functionality of a cancer cell. As I said earlier, cancer is a sugar-loving, low oxygen, acidic environment. And so one of the biggest things that makes us acidic is stress. So we want to be very mindful, not to mention toxicity, not to mention what we eat. So all these things. So eating is absolutely important. I'd be studying everything on eating, listening to everybody, and then you know how you feel. If you don't feel good on an eating plan after 2 weeks, it's not the eating plan for you. There is no one size fits all. There's lots of people have lots of different ideas about eating, okay? But the cardinal rules is you've got to, I think I would say everyone's number one addiction is sugar. That would be my biggest thing. And I heard about a month ago that 75% of our children are eating processed fast food, 75%. So we're just setting them up for all major chronic diseases. And it's our job to be teaching and educating our children, whether they're a baby or whether they're a grown adult. They may not like you, but you're not running a personality contest when you have patients or children or anybody that you're trying to teach. You just want, you just want to, because I've had kids and, they don't listen to you. They don't like you. But, it is what it is. You got to do what's right for the person. And luckily, my patients, they're ready to change their life, because they have a serious situation. I'm not their mother. I'm not their wife. I'm someone they can listen to. So, and I would say over the years that most patients will change their eating. Unfortunately, there's one thing that I haven't been able to get people to do is change their level of motion. Movement is life. And so we have a society that's sitting down all the time. They are not moving. Everything's automated today. And we have to move our 800 beautiful muscles every day, because that is what helps our lymphatics. That's what oxygenates you. It helps your brain. I mean, there's so many things about movement. You don't have to do a triathlon. You don't have to do a marathon. You just got to go walk in nature and appreciate the beauty around you.
Oh my gosh, Dr. Connealy, I love
Singing praises, Sean.
Yeah, my goodness. If we could camp on the nutrition side for a moment, I'd love to come back to the movement. I love how you reframed exercise there. Just that statement of, because I think for most people, when they think of, you need to exercise, that can be very negative, right? But
yes.
You said something really wonderful, and that's move your body throughout the day. Don't sit as much, just simple things. We know from the Blue Zone research, right, that just people that move throughout their day are healthier. I love that. Boy, we'll have to have you back. Can you talk more about the exercise? But I'm curious, can you talk a little bit about, like first steps for nutrition? I've heard you mention in your books, you talk about detoxing. Can you talk a little bit about the power of a detox and what that does to us and helps us?
Right. Well, I tell people most illnesses are caused from one or more nutritional deficiencies, and almost everybody has one or more, and toxins and probably bugs. All right. But you have the bugs because your terrain isn't healthy, because there's the germ theory and the terrain theory. And it's really your terrain. Is it receptive to a bug or not for their survival? So the American Academy of Environmental Medicine had a big meeting online. Okay. None of the speakers talk to each other, right? Before they just all are, they're delivering their expertise. And they said in their report, all of them separately and collectively, because, the meeting was, summarized, et cetera, that the number one thing that's killing us is pollution. Okay. And it's causing all medical problems. Okay. So when people think of pollution, it's the air you're breathing, the water you're drinking, the food you're eating, and everything that you're putting on your body. So you just need to think, okay, You got to start being mindful of that. So if you look at a package and there's start to think lots of chemical names you can't understand, then that would be something where you better go look that up. Or there's so many resources today to talk about all the chemicals in food, but there's lots of chemicals in food, okay? In the water supply, we have pharma water and toxic water. So interesting, Popular Science had an article on just pharma water. Pharma water means all the pharmaceuticals that are in water, okay? Heavy metals, for example, heavy metals, they're in the air and then they're in the food supply. All baby food that was tested, including organic, had all presence of all heavy metals. So there's antibiotics used in and chemicals used in the food supply for growth or for protection, etc. So we have a lot of inadvertent use of antibiotics. So, and then everything that we're putting on our body, you know, there's lots of chemicals. Women are probably worse offenders than men. Men don't use a lot of products. But if you think about your shower water has chemicals in it, then you start putting things on your face, your body, etc. And your skin is your largest organ in your body. And we're absorbing all this stuff through our skin. So the single greatest thing I think anyone can do to help their life and help them think better, feel better, prevent illness is to cleanse, cleanse, cleanse. And when I talk about that, it starts with what are you putting in your body? So being aware, buy organic, buy grass-fed, buy hormone-free, all these things. We have all that is available today. Don't sacrifice your budget with food, because food is the thing that keeps you alive. Then water, you've got to have some kind of water purification system, even if it's something simple. Maybe you can't afford a full water system or something on your tap water, but you've got to have water, good purified water, because the water is tainted. There's study after study showing this. So this is not something that isn't real, it is real. But invest in something at home. There's lots of inexpensive water purifiers on the market. And then one of the simplest things people can do is, like, I tell people to do a detox bath. I give them directions on how to do a detox bath at home. And it's in my book, The Cancer Revolution, all these little tools. And so I tell them that they can do oil pulling in their mouth. Put a tablespoon of coconut oil, swish your mouth in the morning and spit it out. I tell them you can do skin brushing. Skin brushing is easy to do. It's been around for a long time. That stimulates your lymph. So that's something you can do. People don't always have to go somewhere to do it. They can do, create their own home spa just at home. Infrared sauna, if you can afford it. Now they have portable infrared sauna. You cannot go wrong with an infrared sauna, either a portable or a regular one. Infrared sauna therapy has been around for years. And here in the United States, we've used one in our clinic for 18 years. They're big, that kind of thing. Sweating is very big in Europe. But sweating, why does sweating work so well? Because sweating increases your oxygenation. We know it causes you to sweat. Any kind of sweating is purifying, all right? Then we have 3 heat shock proteins in our body that kill cancer and viruses. So we want to heat our body up to get rid of, viruses and cancer. So it's a very, very powerful tool. So there's lots of little things. I tell people, I like to put people on a cleanse when they come in. They eat. So, people are always worried about eating. And I go, okay, you're going to be able to eat while you cleanse. So I usually put them on a purification cleanse. And it's funny, one of my friends texted me yesterday, and she's a patient here. And she said, oh my God, I love the cleanse. I stay on it because I've never felt this great in my life. And she's probably 60 years old now. And so cleansing is the most powerful thing probably anyone can do, because toxins, I would say, are our number one factor. And, this has been done with measurement of breast milk, placenta, people's blood work. So it's not like something that's not been scientifically vetted. And so the single greatest thing, and then we have to cleanse our mind every day, right? So that would be starting your day and middle of your day, end of your day with healing affirmations. So I always give all the patients healing affirmations so they can rewire their brain to live in a state of gratitude.
Good. So good. I feel like your invitation to make a home sauna with kind of this paraphrase of cleanse, cleanse, cleanse. We're going to cleanse with our food. We're going to cleanse our toxins. We're going to have beautiful things on our skin. We're going to have these home remedies of a great bath, of an infrared sauna. We just got an infrared sauna a couple of months ago. For a year, I tried like one of those that you go and you pay monthly. And I wanted to try it for a year before I made the investment. And I loved it so much that we just went ahead and put one in our home. But there are little portable ones that you can that are super, super affordable, or the dry brushing. So I feel like just simple methods and a small water purifier, but also I think a whole different take on our relationship with food and movement, knowing that those things are things that we want to put in to fuel us. It's not just like, what am I hungry for and how am I going to satisfy my craving? I think it gives us a deeper motivation to know how incredibly healing certain types of foods can be for our body and certain types of movement. Even you saying, if you have a little bit of a meal that you just want to make sure you lower your blood sugar, go out for a 10-minute walk. That's something a doctor told me like a decade ago. And it's such an easy thing to do. So I want to say these are really complex issues, and I feel like you have given us some really great solutions just to start, just to begin today, that can be lifestyle practices that are really within reach, that can be done at my home. And I feel like I have personally benefited from your amazing centers, and I'd love people to know how they can get in touch that really want to go deeper, that want to come on, they want to do some pre-screening exams with you. Maybe they're in the middle of treatment and they want to get a second opinion. Is there a better way to complement what I'm currently doing and add to my current protocol, broader things to really treat the root cause? Could you tell us how we can get in touch and a little bit about how your centers go about it, whether you want to cure cancer or to optimize?
Well, a couple of things. You made a good point. I tell patients, you're not going to revamp your entire life overnight. Give yourself 1 year. So make little changes, little change, make big things happen. That's the first thing. Because people are always overwhelmed in the beginning, and they're probably going to be overwhelmed with listening. Don't be overwhelmed. I took little steps and made changes. Like, I first eliminated plastic out of my life. This was years ago. I read about plastic and how damaging it is to your body. So I eliminated that. And then I slowly started changing my pans, etc. There's lots of things. I talk about it in my book. Then I have an Instagram page. People love our Instagram page. They love the information we put out all the time. And they like it says it keeps them going. So, because, I'm just a normal person like everybody else, okay? I'm trying to survive and thrive in the world just like everybody else. And I'm always looking for efficiency, like make things, how many things I could do all at the same time. And then if you just go to Connealy MD, you'll find lots of things and lots of different things. And you can read my book. I have The Cancer Revolution. I wrote this years ago. These are just little things that I put together over the years about things to think about in your health and the change you can make. And we also have a podcast, and we talk about detailed things on our podcast. It could be about eating, it could be about stress, it could be about the gut, it could be about hormones, it could be about birth control pills, it could be about any number of things we talk about that I think people want to hear about and listen. So it allows us to give us a real longer time to give much more information. So we do that every week. And we have guest speakers also that are specialists in their area. And so it's a phenomenal phenomenal information source. And that's what we have to do. I'm studying 7 days a week because that's what you have to do, because you know, your mind, body, and spirit is the most powerful asset that you have. Now, our Center for New Medicine is for human optimization, prevention, or chronic diseases like diabetes, hypertension, autoimmune diseases, Lyme disease, etc. And then the Cancer Center, the patients go there and they matriculate. Maybe they have stage 4 cancer. So they're there for longer periods of time. And there are patients that have already exhausted. And then there's patients that come in from the beginning at the time they're diagnosed, and they want me to provide the collateral support and direction that patients need to do if they were to do a biopsy, if they were to do surgery, if they were to do chemotherapy and or radiation. We need to provide the collateral support for the best foundation to undergo those treatments. I had 18 hours of back surgery 2 years ago. I prepared for 3 months. And so we have to teach our patients how they can prepare so that they go through that surgery without any complications or problems.
So helpful. So helpful.
So wonderful. And we're so thankful that you're so close to us, Dr. Connealy.
Yeah.
We're in Irvine, California. So we come and visit you at your center.
Anytime.
Your books, I mean, you have impacted so many people around the world, Dr. Connealy, with all of your work. And thank you for all that you're doing to help us.
Well, it's my mission. And you know, I'm a DES baby, which we didn't even talk about, which was a drug given in the 50s to pregnant women to prevent miscarriages. And I've gone through some, I call them detours in life, which we all have had, but it's your greatest lesson. And it's taught me how to do what I do today. And I just want people to know what I know. And I want to share, and we need to transform the health of humanity everywhere.
Gosh, thank you. I think I'm going to take away one thing. If I were to say one word to characterize our time with you, I would say hope. You have given us hope. I feel sentimental because when we get stuck in chronic illness, if we have a cancer diagnosis, if we have a loved one that does, it's so difficult. And to feel like there's a hopeful path through it, that you have this rich science to back your path, is very helpful. So I just want to say, plug into Dr. Connealy, all the resources for both of her centers, her books, her podcasts. It's absolutely amazing. And I just want to say a huge thank you.
Well, thank you to you guys too. And I appreciate you guys being a part of my journey too.
All right, guys. Wow. Did you take a lot of notes? Oh my goodness. Between Dr. Bill and Dr. Connealy, oh my goodness, there's a lot. So so good. It's just such great information. And we saw a bunch of comments and chat, questions coming through chat. One thing, Dee, if there were one thing, what was your takeaway?
Yeah, I said on the video recording that it was hope, that there's hope for solutions. And I think I still feel that way, that, you know, whether we have a cancer diagnosis, a friend does, we have a chronic illness that we are battling, or we just really want to take our energy up. We've been battling maybe with some extra stress or some sleep issues, or some of our blood work came back and some of our numbers are just a little bit off, and we really want to maximize our energy each and every day, no matter where we are in the spectrum of desiring improvement. She had a pathway of hope. There is hope for healing. I really like that she included some stress reduction techniques, and she was saying that stress, you know, is such a huge part that gets in the way of any of us as we're trying to optimize our health. And so I think for me also, in addition to the hope, is just thinking through what are some of my stress reduction techniques. And I'd encourage you on the call to say, you know, what are a couple of things that you can employ today? Could it be a morning meditation, a morning prayer time, incorporating some deep breathing throughout your day, maybe a journaling practice, maybe some beautiful music to start your day or end your day, a candle, you know, at the end of your day, whatever it is that you can just start weaving in some things that will really lift your spirit. Makes me want to take a deep breath now and know that that is just one aspect of our health journey that can really help improve things overall. Let's see.
Yeah,
I'm seeing some. Go ahead, Sean. And there's a few people that added in on chat as well.
Yeah, I was just going to share. I think it was, if you pronounce, I'm sorry if I'm going to mispronounce your name, it's BB, said, I'm going to take a detox bath tonight. I love it. How practical is that? That's what we're looking for, guys. One thing that you can take away and practice it today. And we'd love to hear from you either in chat, also on Facebook. And by the way, just Rise Together Today, go into Facebook and you can just put Rise Together Today and you'll go to the homepage and you can join us in that conversation. But Dee, I wrote down so many notes. I mean, one thing I just want to share I thought was brilliant was when she said, movement is life.
Wow.
Movement, right? We're not just moving our body, we're moving our life. And she said this, sweating is purifying. What a different way to think about sweating, right? I remember when I was living in Finland and oh my gosh, saunas were a way of life. Like every day of the week, at least once or twice a week, they were in a sauna. And that's how they pronounced it. It was such a great experience I had never experienced before in my life. So, and we can have our own little sauna even when we move, when we start to perspire. It's good for us. It's healthy. Right?
Yes. So from the number of tests, that she gave to the movement is life. I mean, that is such a great, it really reinforces the aspects that Dr. Bill had to cleanse, having that purification process with the way we treat our skin, our body. I love the sweating part. I think I mentioned on there that I had gotten a sauna, and there are some really affordable saunas if you want to try some out that you can do that really just come up here. They can roll up, be in the corner, and you can pull them out. The dry brushing is a great way. So all of these things, they're small things. And I like that she said, take a year. Take a year. This could be the year of you revitalizing your health. We've come off this really stressful season the last year and a half to feel like, gosh, we could take this next year and we could kind of put in a couple new things each and every month. And what a great approach, right?
Yes, we'd love to hear from you guys. So, well, just part of the day finished. We're going to be back later on at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. You don't want to miss this, you guys. A special individual is going to share his story. It's powerful. Jay Hewitt is going to join us, and we're really looking forward to that. So grab some lunch or a break, and whether you're at work or whatever you're doing, but we were so thankful to have the time with you this morning and this afternoon. And Dee, thank you, dear friend. It's really fun.
Thank you, dear friend Sean. And I just want to close with one thing. I noticed that Janet said, I have 2 friends just diagnosed with cancer. Is there a way that they can view Dr. Connealy's talks? We do want to let you know that within 2 hours of us finishing live each day, these replays will be available to view, and they'll be available all week long. So please share those links with your friends, invite them in to come in, and they actually need to come in and register. So send them to nexthealthsummit.com. They can register. They'll get our daily emails. They can go on our summit page. They can watch the replay. So registration is complimentary for everyone, and we will be keeping these interviews posted all week long because we really want the information to be easily accessed and integrated into everyone's life. So please share it around. Go on Facebook today. Share a couple of your learnings. We'd love to hear from you. Oh, it looks like Beth said, I've just added a sauna to my wish list. Beth, I just want you to say it's like one of my favorite things at home now. And my husband and I both really love it. We always used to love the jacuzzi, which we still do, but it's so nice knowing that it is a way to re-energize and reinvigorate our health. And if you go back and listen to Dr. Connealy and Dr. Sears, there were so many points, you know, how we move, how we eat, how we deal with stress. What was Dr. Bill's 5? It's like, eat smart, move smart, think smart, sleep smart, and serve smart.
Sure. Yep.
Dr. Connealy just weaved in her own version of those same 5 categories. She added in some specific testing, some specific stress reduction techniques we can do. So we just want to say, great to be with you. Please share it with a friend. We'll see you today at 4 o'clock. And tomorrow, a quick peek of our lineup, Dr. Mark Hyman, the man himself, Dr. Will Cole, the amazing doctor and good friend of Mark Hyman's, and our own chef, Jenny Ross, will be coming on live tomorrow. So please join us at 4, join us tomorrow, and we'll be with you on Facebook as well.
Yeah, great to be with you guys this morning. Awesome, awesome time today. So thank you, everybody. We'll see you a little bit later on today, hopefully. Thank you.